Hello everybody, GWS here to do a retake of a video that for whatever reason did not upload a few days ago. So that's why this news is a little bit late. This was actually reported a couple weeks ago, and I read a couple things on Twitter, motivated me to put this back up. So here's the thing about college. It does not prepare you for work. It does not educate you. It doesn't do anything for you but produce debt. College education is a scam. I'm not talking about ITT, tech, vocational schools, trade schools, medical school, nursing school, all that. You probably do learn some good job skills at those. Pretty much most of your trade schools, they're specialized, so the trade-off is with a general education is that if the jobs aren't there for your particular field, then you could be screwed. But here's the scheme about college. College doesn't even provide a generalist version of education like it's supposed to. See, the way it worked earlier, decades ago, was you had your specialists who went to these vocational schools, and then you had your generalists, which were people with your liberal arts degrees. And back then, you probably wanted to be a generalist with an evolving economy and all that. So, before I get into this number that's on the screen, let me just get one little thing out of the way. There's this correlation that always floats around that people with a college degree earn twice as much as somebody with a college diploma. That is called a false cause fallacy. And let me explain. Um, every time it rains outside, there's clouds. But does rain cause clouds, or does clouds cause rain? See, you have to get the causality loop correct. And that's where people don't get it correct for college education. Because yes, that statistical correlation is true. It's the cause is the other way around. You have more money, therefore you get a college education. It's not the other way around. And you see that, you see these entry-level people, what they get. They get not much more money, if even more money at all, than somebody that didn't go to college. They probably do make more, but it's not the extreme amount that people are claiming. But, that would all be speculation if there weren't data to prove it. And see, this is one piece of data, and this is what business leaders have been saying individually all the time. You hear them say it all the time. We do not have a qualified workforce. And business leaders who think grads are prepared for the workforce, 11%. What does that show? This is graduates, by the way. Graduates. 5 years, maybe more, of college. Not bachelors, not associates, graduates. Which means you're probably in the hole about 150,000 or so. Whatever it would be. I don't know the specifics of the average cost, but you're in a hell of a lot of debt by that point. That's 5 years of college. If you gotten 100% financial aid, you're in the hole big time. But, here's the big problem with a college education. The government standards are basically akin to just an expansion of high school. You have your ACR that you have to complete, that all colleges have to have in order to become accredited. And this accreditation process is super important, because if you're not accredited, you can't get a ton of the money. You have no financial aid. And so that's a huge problem. And not only do you not get financial aid, but business, they'll often look at, whether your university was accredited or not. And it's just the wrong way of looking at things. Educators need to be in the business of educating people. Educators, not the government creating standards. Educators. And see, this is coming from the line of renewing the college education, and I always get bothered when people say the whole replace it versus make it better argument. First of all, if you're an employee for a company, you don't get a chance to get better. You either do your job or you're gone. And there's a reason for that policy, and that is they can count on replacing you easily. Just like that. The problem is gone. But you can't count on something getting better. It can't be counted on. You can't count on a particular policy improving a system. We've seen it. Look at what Common Core did. Common Core was supposed to be this great revolution backed by industry leaders and etc. And it doesn't work because national standards do not work when you're trying to impose an education regimen on a locale. It does not work. People learn differently. People have different priorities in different parts of the country. You cannot teach everybody the same way. But here's how this relates to college, though. Each college needs to have their own system. That system, the merits of that system in terms of the research it produces, the work it produces, the students it releases out into the world after they graduate or get any kind of degree, that needs to be the merit based on company demand. If a company hired 100 people from Berkeley and none of them show any kind of promise, then Berkeley is not accredited to them. I don't care how established it is. The fact is, the merits of a school should be based on the students it produces and what it provides to the country in terms of how much influence it has. And you got this little school, and it has, say, a revolutionary online type of deal where kids are learning more online than they are on a campus for a fraction of the cost, fraction of the faculty. You have some kind of automated system that's teaching people better. Yeah, that system should rule. I don't care if it's from little dinky university with 50 people in it. If it's producing people who make a huge contribution, that should be what matters. But right now, you have an accreditation system which benefits the established colleges, which is funded by the education lobby, which does not produce good students, which does not reward schools for producing good students. Berkeley's going to get the same amount, probably even more, because of their astronomical tuition costs. They're going to collect more from the government for producing less. Excuse me. And see, the arrogant thing is, too, you'll see, this article has a lot of numbers. I encourage you guys to read this. Again, here's the title. One number that was shocking to me, and let me scroll down and see if I could see it. Yeah, here's the American public. Just 16% of Americans think that a 4-year degree prepares students for a well-paying job in today's economy. So, I'm not in the minority here. I'm just saying what everybody else thinks. 40% of bachelor's degree holders would study a different major if they could do it again. Now, I'm looking for the big stat because there's one up here. Oh, here we go. While 96% of chief academic officers of college and universities believe that their students are very or somewhat preparing, or institutions are very or somewhat effective at preparing students for the workforce. 96%. You talk about the arrogance. I don't know if that's just self-reporting bias, but that is horrible. Chief academic officers, people who should know better. But see, here's the problem. We've set up a system where academic success is valued above all else in terms of our politics and our perception, even when it's not providing the skills necessary. Like, what good is academic success if you can't go out in the workforce and you can't perform basic duties? I've even seen this when I'll go to developer forums. I'll go to these forums, these tech forums, and you'll see, a common story is, I'm interviewing this guy and he can't perform X basic action. College graduate, mind you. College graduate. They're requiring an insane amount, and then they say, okay, write me this program, get it to do this, and, code it up on a whiteboard, and they can't do it. And my anecdote will be useless except for the stat above, which is just insane. And it was about a for loop, by the way. I'm not sure if the non-programming audience knows what that is, but it's, for those who do know what it is, college graduate can't even write a basic for loop that counts from to 10? Really? Can't do basic recursion with factorials? That's one of the first things you learn with recursion. It's unbelievable. And these people are trying to become software engineers, and in reality, they're going to be in a basement for the rest of their lives because they didn't learn anything, and they accumulated all this debt. So, that's where we're at right now. And, again, let me go back to the academic thing, because I didn't really finish the point how I wanted to. Here's the thing, and then I'll end this video, because it's dragging on. Here's the thing about the academic world and academia in general is you go to high school and it's college prep all the way. College prep, college prep, college prep. I remember when I went to school 20 years ago, it was prepare for college, get into college, prepare for college. What college you going to go to? We're going to have the whole class look for a college and then say what they like about it. Do a report or something. I can't remember exactly, but they were telling their students, look for your college, and it's like the dumb kids are viewed as, oh, well, you go to Volk school and become a janitor. As if it's a bad thing. Like, you're a dumbass here. You go to Volk school and you become a janitor. And the ironic thing is that there are fewer high school dropouts now than there have ever been. So, these jobs, there are huge shortages. Huge shortages of plumbers, janitors, carpenters, HVAC, all that. And you're getting shortages because the system is becoming too effective at feeding young people the propaganda. And see, those are the jobs that are actually paying now. You look what, I believe, what do janitors pay? Like $30,000? It's not great, but you barely need any kind of education at all for that. You just go to some basic vocational program which is like maybe 1% of the cost, 10% of the cost, 5%, something, something along those lines, 5% maybe. You go there for $5,000, $10,000 probably at most, and most of them are probably less than that. Because the one I was going to go to was a lot less than that. But you go to these schools, and then you can get a pretty decent job off of them without the debt. And that's where our focus needs to be going. Not necessarily exclusively. If you want to go to college and that's for you, absolutely. I encourage it, and that is a good life decision, and I will not knock anybody for doing it. The problem is people are being forced into a system where they are set up to fail. A lot of them are set up to fail. I was one of them. You are set up to fail, and then you become demoralized for the rest of your life. That's not what we need. We need, if somebody wants to be a janitor, more power to them. They're not dumb shits because they want to go to a Voc school, because it may be a little bit easier, and it may be less effort. It's about what you produce. It's not about effort. It's not about what you deserve. It's not about, how much are you willing to sacrifice. It's what do you produce? What is your contribution? And that's the important thing. And we need to stop knocking various forms of education, various job titles, and we need to start getting back in the business of teaching people job skills. Even in colleges, you need to learn job skills. That 11% number, it may not be what it is for a vocational school, but it needs to be higher than 11%, and I think we can all agree on that. Anyhow, thanks for listening, guys. God bless.